Hey, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. To keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come, remember to protect what you pursue. Summer fishing is fired up with warm water and hungry fish moving into the bay. So let's hear who's making the show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. Killer Dock builds products designed to make your dock better. Their lineup includes high-end fish cleaning stations, canopies, outdoor furniture, and other accessories, all built with durability, functionality, and aesthetics in mind. Marine-grade aluminum, corrosion-resistant protection, stainless steel hardware, and smart features help Killer Dock products stand up to the environment while looking right at home on your dock. Whether you're upgrading one part of your setup or building out the entire waterfront, start with products made for the job. See everything Killer Dock has to offer at killerdock.com. All right, y'all, welcome to this week's show. Before we jump into the reports, we're going to talk a little bit with Jesse Wilkins over at Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle to talk about rod and reel preparation, what's been biting lately, how they did the other day out at the windmills on Flounder. And then we're also going to get to talk to some local spear fishermen who are going to be hosting another upcoming tournament at the end of September. I'm excited to meet these guys. They're super passionate about spearfishing, and they're going to be hosting a casting and spearfishing fishing tournament out of Chick's Oyster Bar. It's going to be really cool to talk to them. But I want to do a little history. We talk a lot about cobia fishing on this podcast, and truthfully, it's what got me into fishing. I think I've told the story on a couple of different shows that back in 2015, I took a charter with Captain Austin Hain with Fineo Sport Fishing, with actually me and my buddy Butch Theory, who's one of the founders here at the podcast. And we just had this incredible day catching, I think we caught 7 or 8 cobias that day. And then we got into a school of red drum and just wore them out. I've got pictures on my phone. I think we had 5 on at one time. It was just insane back when Stevenson H5 on Instagram was his mate. We just had one of those crazy days. But I got bit bad. And ever since then, I've just fallen in love with cobia fishing. And I never really appreciated or understood how special our cobia fishery was until I got to know some folks from Pensacola and Destin and other parts of the world where catching a cobia is like finding a unicorn. So I wanted to kind of go back. We've got an upcoming cobia tournament out of Wallace's Bait and Tackle. Tony and his wife, they do an awesome job there. If you follow them on Facebook, I mean, every day they're posting the catches and congratulating the anglers if they get a citation. It's a really cool property, and I wanted to share some history about it. So, Hampton Roads is actually a very old area. I think it was in the early 1600s that Hampton was established. It traces all the way back to English settlement at Kicquetan, which is one of the oldest communities in the United States. And then the whole Chesapeake, Hampton Roads areas kind of became a central part of the community as well. And then Fox Hill and Back River, in the early days, it was just a waterman community. That's like the present day Dandy Point that we see. Has a super strong connection back to, the commercial fishing world, crabbing, and the entire Chesapeake Bay. And Dandy Point itself, became an important access point to the Lower Chesapeake Bay. And so if you've been to Wallace's Bait and Tackle, you've seen it's just a gorgeous property out there. And Dandy Point, that whole area, earned a nickname, the cobia capital of the world. And that is actually the Virginia Marine Resources Commission. That's what they use to describe Dandy Point. It's kind of neat. And you can actually see that on their website. Yeah, through the years, a lot of really great investment went into Wallace's, and it's really evolved to become much more than a bait shop. It's an official way station. It's a marina, fuel stop, and of course now with Tony and his wife, they've turned it into a first-class venue for fishing tournaments. So, what I want to talk about, drum roll please, Saturday, September the 5th. It's going to be over the holiday weekend, which is awesome. Because normally when you're fishing a tournament on a Saturday, you're having to, make some wagers with the wife and kids. Hey, can I have this day to go do this tournament? this weekend sets up perfectly. You can fish on Saturday, and then you've got Sunday and Monday to do all of your family stuff, which is going to be awesome. So here's the key points. It's going to be a 1 day event. It's $300 for the main entry, and that includes up to 4 crew members. And then if you want to have more folks on your boat, it's only $50 per extra angler. And they're going to have Calcutta levels, 100, 200, 300, and 500. And there's going to be a trash fish Calcutta as well, a youth angler Calcutta, and a lady angler Calcutta. So a lot of opportunity depending on whether you're just like, hey, I want to just go enter and have fun and fish, or you want to get into the Calcuttas, or if you've got a lady, a youth, or you want to go after that trash fish. There's a lot of opportunity, and it's going to be lines in at 6 a.m. Uh, they're welcoming charters and recreational anglers alike. And then the weigh-in will be between 2 and 5 p.m. and their party starts at 3. And I think it was 2023. My buddies Mike Manning and Jesse Ewing were with me. We managed to sweep first place in every category. It was a very lucky catch on a tough day, and we were like the first ones to weigh in. And what I remember about weigh-ins was when the party started. The food was awesome. They've got music going. There's games for the kids. There's cornhole. That whole place just comes alive out there at Dandy Point. And Tony and his wife just set the scene to have a really good time. So what I'd encourage you guys to do is go ahead and get registered. It's going to be an awesome day. And then make sure that your families know and your friends know that the party starts at 3. It's so much fun to be down there on that big wraparound porch, having a drink, enjoying yourself, and watching the fish come in and get weighed is nothing like it. So please get out there, participate. They're going to have all kinds of good stuff, raffles that you can buy raffle tickets and win prizes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys there. We'll be fishing under the Samrust Seafood banner. I'm hoping to talk my uncle into coming out and fish with me. Should be a good time. So, with that, we're going to take a quick break here from our sponsors and then jump into the fishing report. Turn your dock into more than just a place to park your boat with Slipski's Dorado Oasis cover. Engineered for both beauty and protection, the Dorado Oasis transforms your dock into a shaded, all-weather living space, perfect for relaxing by the water or entertaining friends. Built from marine-grade aluminum and premium fabric, it also provides year-round protection from sun, rain, and debris. Whether you're lounging dockside or keeping your boat covered and ready to go, Slipski delivers comfort, convenience, and peace of mind. Slipski, think outside the boathouse. Visit slipski.com. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed my little expose on how I came into cobia fishing and how excited I am for the Wallace's tournament. Something I forgot to mention that I think is really cool. We've had a lot of tournament evolutions, shall we say, over the last couple of years with regards to verification methods. They're going to have a on-site polygraph for all the winners, so it's going to be really, really cool to go out and fish, have fun, and then know that all of the results are going to be verified with a polygraph. But I want to welcome back to the show a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, Mr. Jesse Wilkins with Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle. Welcome back. How we doing?
What's up? Thank you for having me again, man.
Absolutely, dude. I'm excited to talk. I love getting to hop into the shop there and see you. You always got this big smile on your face. You're ate up with fishing, and you're really good at fishing, like really, really good. So I always like to get to pick your brain because you have a really good grasp on all the nuts and bolts that go into it. So the first thing I want to jump into is what have you been fishing for lately? What kind of trips have you been on, and what have you been catching?
Well, it's been fun recently. I've been blessed enough to have some people with some nice boats be able to take me out farther than I'm used to.
Yeah.
I'm a bay guy. I got fish in the inlet. I got a little like aluminum John boat. And when people want me to go in the bay with them, I'm all on it because I don't have a boat that's, comfortable enough to go out there daily.
Yeah.
Um, so everything I know, is learned through going out with other people and learning with them. And recently I've been able to go out 40, 50 miles off like to the windmills, some of the wrecks out there, catch some flounder, catch some sea bass. And that was all new to me. I've tied rigs for those guys like since I was a kid, and I've never been able to go out there and use them.
That
So
wait,
it was
wait.
cool.
That was your first time fishing for flounder offshore?
Yeah, I went last Tuesday with a good buddy Parker. He runs some charters around. Y'all have probably seen his
Oh
boat. He's got
yeah.
the big cool spear fishing wrap on it. He's
He's
a
he
good guy.
he's got he's got my boat's big brother. So he's got
Yeah.
the Mako 282. Which cool story. So Parker Reed, awesome spear fisherman and rod and reel fisherman, but that Mako used to belong to Zach Castro with Not Tuggin.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and to tell you about how great those boats ride, every time I ever talk to Zach, he's like, "Man, I regret the day I sold that thing."
Dude, we went out to the windmills and I was standing there talking, and then I look up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could see the windmills. Like that was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. A lot harder ride. I'm used to a
Yeah,
10-minute ride out to the islands
yeah,
and then maybe into the bay from there,
yeah. And
It
what's
was easy.
What's weird about the windmills is like you feel like you're there when you still have a little ways to go because they're so big, and you see them like, oh, they're right there. And then you're like, they're still right there. They're still right there.
Yeah, they're
But
still right there.
yeah, but then all of a sudden you're there. It really is an easy ride. And I think that's part of why it's easy is because like you're visually watching yourself, get closer. So you have this like constant thing to focus on versus just like riding aimlessly into the blue and all you have to look at is the clock.
Exactly.
So what was that like for you being out there, like taking all that time that you spent tying, rigs in the shop and hearing about all the stories to actually be out there yourself? What was the first thing that crossed your mind when you went to go drop your bait down for the first time?
Well, it definitely translated a lot, Like I feel like I got out there. Obviously, I didn't know exactly what to do because I've never done it. But once Parker was good, like he explained to me what to do exactly. He helped me through the whole process. And within 10, 15 minutes, I had a flounder on the deck. I was like, holy crap. I was like, this is why all these guys are coming out here and flounder fishing. And again, all props to Parker, man. I shot my first cobia that day too. I've never shot a fish with a spear gun in general. And I
You
shot
shot
a
one?
cobia. Yeah, it was awesome. And it
No
was all
way.
props to him. He put me in. He got in the water with me. Sorry, there's all these trucks driving by the shop right now. He
Dude,
got in
that's
the water with me.
incredible.
He showed me. I was looking at the fish, or I was looking away from the fish. He grabbed my head and like pointed me towards the fish. He was like, "Look, it's right there." And I got a shot on him, man. It took me a couple tries. We went to a couple places, but man, all props to Parker. I appreciate him for everything. That
Dude,
was an awesome day.
that's so sick. I didn't even know that you had gotten in the water that day. I knew you had flounder fished, but holy smokes,
Yeah, I shot my first fish, which happened to be a cobia, which was awesome.
that's
And I
incredible.
got my first flounder limit offshore, man. That he put me on. It was a good day off work because I only get Mondays and Tuesdays off. So
Yep.
when I get a full day off work and get a good day like that, it means the world to me.
That's really a exceptional. That's an exceptional experience to get a limit of flounder and a cobia, but much less to actually get to spear one. So let's go back to the flounder fishing for a second. What, if anything, wasn't what you were expecting when it came to the flounder fishing out there?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I would kind of be disappointed because you got to go out kind of far for a flounder. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I've caught them on topwater spooks in the flats, like messing around as a kid. Like 23 inchers, like 3.5 pounders. I haven't caught any monsters back there. But
Yeah.
I'm catching edible size legal flounder. Um, but my thing is really is like I wonder what it's going to do to like the future of flounder fishing. Like, is it going to make it better in here? Is it going to make it worse in here? Is it going to have no effect at all? I know the
I
flounders like being in the ocean and then they come in, but are they going to come in as much? Are they going to stay out there? There's a lot of variables that we kind of just got to go through time and see what
yeah.
happens with.
Yeah. Well, and what I was curious about is like, so you've got all that concept in your head of like all the rigs you've tied and all this, that, and the other, and then you were actually out there fishing. What, if anything, when you went to actually go try to catch one, did anything catch you off guard that you're like, oh, so I have to do like this and not like that? Like, or was it pretty native to you?
It felt pretty native, especially once they told me I was jigging. I might not have been jigging the right way the first time, and they're like, yo, try it this way a little bit,
Yeah.
try it this way. But what I was really surprised about is the lack of amount of times I lost rigs. I thought I was going to be
Uh,
losing rigs left and right. I'd never been out there, but
not a wreck.
luckily I only lost like two or three. And obviously they're the windmills, you're not dropping down on anything crazy, but
Yeah. It's one of those things where you you're not on a wreck, so there's way less snag potential than there is on a wreck. But when you get down on those rocks, I think you have to kind of stay vertical, right? Like if you get too much bow or slack in your line, you can accidentally drag it over one of those rocks and kind of get
yeah.
hung up.
And I found that when your lines are when you're dropping like that, straight down in 90 feet of water, if your line's going like under the boat, 3, 4 yards, that's a long way under the boat. You don't want that. Even like
Hmm.
3 or 4 feet, I feel like it's harder to hook up on fish because when you're vertical, that hook set or that reel set, whether you're using a circle hook or a J hook, that's almost everything. Because
Yeah.
if it's diagonal down under the boat and you pull that hook up,
You pull all that slack
you're
comes
not going
out.
to get all that response. Yeah, that
Yeah,
line has to move forward a bit, if that makes sense.
it does.
Um, so I think more of the importance is obviously you're not going to feel snags as much too. That same way you're not going to feel bites. There
Right.
was times where I wasn't paying attention. My line would go back. I'd have to put like I just wasn't paying attention. I should have told him to put the boat in reverse. Even
Yeah.
up lines. And I go to reel it in, and I have a fish on, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even feel that, and it's a keeper flounder. And I had no clue until I started reeling in because my line's going Lord knows where. It's my first
Yeah.
time doing it. So I'm like, oh, all right, I got a fish on.
That's funny. So I'm curious, you got the entire tackle shop at your disposal. Like you could pick up anything you want and go. What did you decide to use for a rig for Flounder?
The first time was all Parker, and I'm not really going to throw his rig under the bus because he's not selling it.
Yeah.
The second time I went out was with good old Uncle Lance Shores. We went out on
Yep.
his big regulator. Me, Connie, Bryce. We got little Eli Porter in there too. He came over. He cleaned the fish for us after
Why,
because we had to go back to work.
why has he got to be little?
Man, that's a little bro. He said, "You'll always be my little bro." That's little Eli Porter, man.
Who's his big bro?
Ryan,
The mayor of
the
63rd
mayor of
Street.
63rd.
All right. So you go out with Ryan, little Eli, Lance, and Uncle Connie. Um, what did you guys use for rigs? What
We
was the
used
setup?
we were like in those jigs, those like 2 ounce Doug jigs, 3 ounce Doug jigs. You could tie whatever rig you want on top of those, but for the most part, I like instead of having just like a random sinker down there,
Hmm.
we were having a lot of success using one of the jigs, and we have those in the shop a lot. A jig, a skirt,
Yeah.
uh, just adding some random little flair to a
Yeah.
double drop rig. And obviously you could go single with just one little deep drop rig down there or
Right.
what are they called, slow pitch jigs. Those slow pitch
Yeah.
jigs are great too.
Yep.
And I found I wasn't getting snagged as much with those either, which was interesting.
Huh. That's good to know. What do you think I'm trying to think about a jig, like a slow pitch jig or even like a vertical jig. Like what is it about that as opposed to like your standard, not Carolina rig, but three-way with a swivel and a weight.
Yeah.
For this fishery specifically, down around those rocks and around the bases of these windmills, like what do you think it is about that seems to be working, we'll just say as good or better than the traditional stuff? Like why a vertical jig? Like what is that doing differently?
Well, yeah, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on this, but what I would think is I think flounder genuinely just like movement. And
Yeah.
there's got to be a lot of stuff swimming around down there. Like we
Oh
could
yeah.
see it on the sonar. You can't mark the flounder, obviously, but you can mark those clouds of bait, those clouds of sea bass and stuff swimming around towards the bottom. You're not the only thing down there for them to eat most of the time. And that's the reason why there's so many in that spot that you're catching them. There's
Hmm.
not going to be loaded amount of fish if there's nothing for them to eat in that spot, if that makes sense. There's
It
there's got to
does.
be something for them there.
Yeah.
Um, I think it just adds a little more flair. A lot of these flounder rigs that when I was growing up, I'd see guys tie these rigs. I'm like, what the heck is he going out to catch? Like, what in the world is this flimsy piece of like stomach on like a giant jig or a bucktail with like another hook above it with like
Yeah.
some flare and a skirt? Like, what's going on here? That's
Yeah.
not anything I was used to using. Those
Yeah.
flounder love it though.
It
And I
creates
found that
movement.
the more stuff I kind of put on there, the
Yeah.
longer the flap is, the more movement it can make,
Put
the
a
more
whole
commotion.
Yeah, put like a whole Christmas tree worth of flare down there.
Dude, you could
Uh,
probably drop it like a umbrella rig, like a vertical umbrella rig down there and just slay.
now you got me thinking, man. That would actually be kind of interesting to do. But
I don't know how we would rig it up, but I'm sure we could figure it out.
yeah, and I know people use like strips of cobia belly or even like strips of sea bass or even a filleted eel. I mean, do you think it matters right now what the bait is, whether it's a gulp or a cut bait or whatever, or are they just more about that movement and being in an area where they're at?
I think for the flounder, I've always grown up hearing that Flounder like the scent. That's always been the only fish that a lot of people I know, they won't use scents for anything. But when it comes to flounder, they're setting their bait up. They want something that
Yeah.
smells. If you look at a flounder, they probably don't have like, I could be wrong, but they probably don't have like the craziest point of view, you know? Like they
It's
might have good vision, but they probably can only see so much, like
right.
they're
Which,
they're
you know what?
peripheral.
Yeah, you're right. Because like a normal fish has probably a very wide angle of view
They
because they
got like
got
a
eyes.
270 angle, you know what I mean? They can see in front of them, on the side of them. These flounder, they can see up and maybe a little bit on the left and right. And even
Yeah.
then, that left and right is left and right of what they're seeing up.
Up. Right.
So
So
I think
you're,
that smell is just something added. If you can't get it in front of their face, they're gonna smell it. They're gonna
yeah.
hear it. They're gonna
Yeah.
feel it on the bottom.
Yep. And then, I mean, the bite and the hookup with a flounder can be very tricky if you've never done it before.
I lost so
You're,
many fish.
yeah. So I'm actually kind of relieved to hear you say that because I picture you like I know how much we've talked in the past about your inshore expertise with like striper and drum and speckled trout. So I would have just assumed that like you immediately figured it out, but it makes me feel good to know that like even for somebody like you, it's a challenge to get that bite down. What
Oh
is it
yeah,
about the bite that's so tough?
I couldn't even tell you that honestly yet. When I went out the first time with Parker again, there was the first 2 hours they were slaying flounder, and I was like, oh, little sea bass. Oh, little sea bass. Like I was like, how are these guys doing it? We're in the same spot.
Yeah.
And then after a little bit, like the technique really does matter. And then I've only been out there twice again, so I will say, but the two people I went out with have gone there plenty and plenty of times. And
Yeah.
looking how they did it compared to how other people were doing it, like boats will pull up right on you on the
Yeah.
windmills. They
Yeah.
see you catching fish, they'll pull up right on you. They don't care.
Yeah.
So seeing how we're doing it compared to how they're doing it, and then we're boating more fish than they are, it's kind of a good comparison. What like, oh, I guess it really does matter. Like those little ways you jig, the patterns,
Yeah.
whatever you're using, I guess it really does matter. And I'm always that type of guy. I always say if fish are hungry, they're gonna eat. I
Yeah.
like finding hungry fish, like it's one thing to find a fish and him see you and swim away, but I
Right.
like finding hungry fish. So
Yeah.
I think out there it's kind of a different ball game. There's a lot of competition. Even between the flounder on the bottom, there's competition between the fishermen on the top of the water. There's competition between the flounder on the bottom. There's a lot of stuff in between. My 2 times out there, I probably saw 10 barracudas.
Oh,
There's barracudas swimming around all over the place. There's pods of sea bass all over the place.
are
So
the
there's a
big
lot of competition there.
are the big bluefish still out there?
I didn't see any big ones when I was out there. I saw a
Okay.
school of like some, schooly size ones, maybe
Yeah.
15 to 23 inches. I didn't see any like giant gators or anything, but I heard that they were out there heavily for a while.
They were. That was my last time out there, was experiencing them being pretty heavy. And so with those flounder, once you felt like you were starting to get the bite down, what were you starting to do differently to get those good hookups?
It was more not of a have feeling being able to read the bottom. So like my first couple drops, you feel it hit the bottom, you're jigging around, but am I on the bottom? Open the bail and then you see it's not moving. You're like, all right, yeah, I'm on the bottom. Let me reel in that slack. It's more of a, okay, I've dropped right here 20, 30, sorry about the honk. I've
Oh
dropped
no,
right
you're
here
good.
20,
You're
30
good.
times. Obviously I know I'm on the bottom now, and
Right.
that's one of those things that only comes from whether you're doing it there or doing it somewhere else, just doing it a good amount of times.
Yeah.
Um, that's probably for the most part that it is being able to read what your line's doing, what your boat's doing, what the bottom's doing all at the same time. And for the first couple hours, I was like, all right, what the heck's going on? Like,
Yeah.
am I messing up here? Like, am I gonna get stuck? Am I gonna tangle everyone's lines? And then you get the hang of it after a couple drops, you catch a couple fish, you're like, okay, everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out.
Hmm.
The first couple drops, I'm like, yo, am I good to drop right now? Am I good to drop here? Should I stand here on the boat? And then after a couple drops, you're like, okay, I need to go right here because this drift is going here. I need to move the boat here because this drift is going here.
Yeah.
And you just can't figure that out unless you've done it a couple times or you know what to look for.
Right on. Right on. Well, one other thing you mentioned that I want to go back to is, what will this do for the flounder fishery in the future? And I could be completely off base here. This is just my anecdotal opinion, but I wonder if truly those flounder are just a biomass of fish that we never saw anyways. But now that there's all that structure out there that's almost acting like a net, to sort of catch them, um, I just wonder whether we'll actually see a decline inshore in numbers because that biomass is all like getting stuck out there, or whether that's just a biomass that existed that was moving north to south that's now getting, hanging out there because there's, structure and bait.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of think there's three options to it, like the two you were saying, and then there's that like, well, maybe they just went out there and they're gonna breed because there's so many out there, and then more will come in here, and then there'll be more everywhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
Yeah.
feel like there's two good options and then one annoying option, and at the end of the day, we've done so much stuff out there. I think we'll adapt no matter what.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm also curious when you cleaned your flounders, I know you had little Eli do that. Did anybody happen to report back what was in their stomachs?
I did not hear anything, sadly.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That's a
I've heard,
good question. I should have looked into that.
yeah, I mean, the few that I opened up, their stomach contents were pretty much consistently like large squid, like 7 to 8 inch profile squid. Um, and some of those flounders, you catch a 19-inch flounder and it's got an 8 inch squid in its belly. It just kind of goes to show how aggressive and much they can eat. And just like the cobia that I caught last night, I wanted to open its stomach up, and of course it was full of menhaden. So you kind of know what they're eating, what their desired, bait is, and then you try to match that hatch when you're going after them.
Yeah, for sure. And even when we were out there, I was seeing like squid floating on the top. I was
Oh,
like dead
interesting.
squid floating around. They looked like they were chomped up. People were using them. We caught a couple flounder that threw up some squid.
There you
We
go.
caught a couple sea bass with grubs in their mouth. So those
From
those
other
fish,
anglers.
yeah, from other anglers, those little plastic gulp grubs.
That's so interesting.
So those fish, they're getting used to it. They're figuring it out.
Oh yeah. Well, there's two other things I want to touch on. I want to talk about spooling reels, and then I want to talk very briefly about the cobia out there. So I'm just curious, how long did you guys have to look before you saw a cobia in the water to shoot?
um, Again, all glory to Parker for this one. It did not take that long. I'm not gonna
Nice.
lie. Before we even got into grounds to shoot, we were on the way. I'm not gonna blow up anything else just because
No,
it
no,
wasn't
no
me. It
spots. I'm
wasn't
just
my
curious
plan.
the
But
level of effort.
we're driving to the spot, and he's like, "Oh, stop!" And there's just a pod of 20, 25 cobia in front of us. Just free swimming right there. We go. We all cast. They triple up. I hook one, lose it right at the boat while they're cooking another one. We hook a big one. He spools us, spools the whole thing. So
Oh,
I don't want the fish to go around with line in it. I batter it down right as I see the gold at the bottom of the reel, snap the line off, get the line back. I don't want it swimming around with all that line. But it was cool, man. We boated a lot of fish. And then we were looking around. We were like, well, shit, if there's pods over here and they're swimming like that, I'm sure we could get in the water and get some. None of the ones we caught were keepers, except for the one we lost, and we didn't
ugh,
get that in the boat.
ugh.
So we were like, all right, let's get in the water with the guns. And he was cool, dude. I was telling him, I was like, bro, if y'all want to get in and get yours, don't worry about me. Like I'm an amateur. Y'all are gonna have to worry about me. You're gonna have to look at what I'm doing, supervise me, go
Yeah,
get your fish. I had fun today. I got a flounder limit. He's
yeah,
like, no, dude, if you want to shoot one, we're gonna get you one. I
yeah.
was like, okay, cool.
That's
So it
awesome.
wasn't that long. And the first buoy we went on, there was nothing on there. So we were like, all right, let's not hit the buoys. And then we started looking around. We started looking around. We went to some other areas. But the first area that we found them on, that whole general area, it was easy to find them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the first spot we looked, but we found cobia on the way home, which gave us the idea maybe we should start looking at some areas that you can shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but no, yeah, the first area we didn't see anything, but we found that pod on the way there, so it was worth it. We were cool with going over there.
That's so
And
cool.
then right as we got in the water at the second area, there was fish there, so I was cool with it.
When you pulled the trigger, how long did it take till you realized that you had made a good shot? Like, did you stun it or did you have to fight it to the surface?
I was lucky enough. I stoned it for the time being. So like he was staring at me and I was staring at him and I was like, is it really like is he this dumb? He started swimming closer to my gun. And I was like,
No.
all right, well, if you're gonna make it easy for me, obviously I'm gonna take the shot. And I shot it And I'm not used to that. I closed my eyes like right as I shot it.
Yeah,
And
like
then I open my
oh
eyes and I see it like sitting there with its little fins looking
yeah.
at me like upside down, bleeding. I'm like, no way, it's not moving. And then I just hear
Yeah, this like scream underwater.
everybody's freaking out. I can hear the bubbles going up. They're like, let's go. I'm like, I got him. I got him. I got
That's so
him.
cool. Were you in a wetsuit or did you just jump in?
Oh, I just jumped in, man. I just had a snorkel, a gun, and some flippers on. I got on the boat and I was shivering. He was like, you good? You need a blanket? I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah, because once how deep down did you go?
I didn't go that deep. I wasn't having it. The first two, three drops, I was getting water in my snorkel. I was coming up, go, and they were like, "You good? You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine."
That's so funny. I know like below the surface, what, maybe 6 or 7 feet, it all of a sudden the temperature changes pretty rapidly, right?
Yeah, and when that current's moving, when you're coming into that ocean current, it's a lot colder than that bay water.
Yeah.
So when the current's coming in, you're sitting in the current, you're like, "Oh, it's cold as shit." And then you swim away like 5 feet and it's warm again, and you're like, "What the heck?"
Oh, that is
Dude,
weird.
but these guys are cracked. Like I have some friends that that spearfish too, and actually getting in the water and doing it brought like a whole new perspective to it. It's like
That's
these guys are a different breed,
yeah,
man. Different breed.
you're getting me excited for my next conversation with Eddie and Kent, because they're hardcore speared fishermen, like Mike Ho's saying with fishing for mortgages. So, well, the last thing I wanted to cover with you was, um, and this is kind of funny because I can't believe I waited this long to do it. It's almost like I guess you could call it like your rod maintenance, but it's like you put all the money into your boat and your sunglasses and getting everything right, but it's like I've just kind of maybe out of like, oh, that just seems inconvenient to do, like re-spooling my reels. I just did it with you the other day for the first time, and like this is like 3 seasons since I've done it. I couldn't believe the performance difference. So like you re-spooled my reels, and I had like I think 50 and 65 pound Power Pro on there that was obviously
Bro, and you
cooked.
could tell they were 3 or 4 years old. And not even from like the line quality, just like the actual line. Every year, Power Pro gets thinner and thinner. They
Yeah,
figure something out to make it thinner. They finish something out to make it smoother.
yeah,
Um, every year I get new spools and I'm like, holy crap, this feels
yeah.
so good. And
Oh
I will
yeah.
always go with Power Pro just because I have never had a problem.
Yep.
If I had a problem with it, I would recommend other stuff. And I've just genuinely, I've respooled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reels. I've fished myself hundreds of reels with Power Pro on it. I've never had a problem once.
That's huge. And I mean, talk me through how you spool a reel. So anybody can bring their reels up to Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle. You've got all the gear there to do it, but you do it a little differently than most. And I have to say, before you tell us how you do it, I want to talk to you about how my fishing experiences was last night. I left the dock at 5:45 p.m. after those storms and lucked into some pods, but it was my first time fishing since you respooled my reels, and I could not believe how effortless it was to get very long cast off, and then I could literally feel the lure. Like before, it was like the friction of the old line coming through the guides was almost like a little distracting, and it stacked up on itself on the reel like almost so sticky that when I would cast, like you had to put a ton of effort into it. And now it's just like butter. So like what did you do when you spooled them so that the performance was so good?
So a lot of people will use like a rag, and they'll put it on the spool. They'll hold down as hard as they can so it doesn't burn their hand. And they'll just spool that thing up as fast as they can. They'll use like a tensioner, a bunch of tools. I call it hand painting. I'll sit there for 20, 30 minutes with each reel. If I mess up one line, I'm taking that line out and I'm redoing it.
Hmm.
I'm very, very big on that. And the hand tension thing for me, if you're going too fast with the spool that it's burning your hand from how you're holding down on it, you need to slow down anyway. That
Mm.
line's going to jumble itself up, it's going to twist. You got to have that thing straight. You got to have that thing tensioned right. And the reason I like using my hand is because, like I said, after spooling hundreds and hundreds of reels and getting yelled at by hundreds of old guys, don't think I've gotten every reel that I've ever spooled perfect like yours, because there's definitely been times when I was a kid that people have came in, they're like, Jesse spooled my reel and I got a wind knot in 10 seconds, or he put too much on there, it's too tight, it's too loose.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things, if I wasn't getting yelled at, I'd probably still spool them pretty bad. um So it just over the years, figuring out how people like it. When someone tells me they got a flounder rod, I'm probably not going to spool it as tight as I spooled yours, if that makes sense.
It does. It
That
does.
reel spooling itself back up, you can spool it as tight as you want. You can do whatever you want. If you're using that line, that reel on that line roller, that reel on that pinion shaft going up and down, it's going to reel it in however it wants. So you
Mm,
also got to comply with how the reel is. You know, if I have a big Daiwa BG, they've got those big old deep spools and they don't line wind as much. Like, you know, those new Shimano's, the twin powers, that thing's going to get every variation on that spool. That line winder is going to go up and down. It's going to sit it very nicely. I love BGs and all that stuff because they're powerhouses, but the reason they're cheaper is because they don't have that technology, and it really does matter. So when I'm
mm,
spooling a reel like that, you know, I got to be more careful. I can't have everything as perfectly close together because when you cast it and reel that thing back in, it's going to look like a jumbled ball of mess. You
yeah.
know, they're going to be like, oh, this guy spooled my reel wrong. Well, no, you just don't have the turning variations like those new Shimano's, those new Japanese Daiwas, you know, they set them down really nice. So like
Yeah.
you gotta, it's according to the reel. And again, I wouldn't know that if I didn't spool each reel and get yelled at 100 times for it by people. So it really is just like a trial and error thing. I've messed up a lot of reels, so now I know what to do a little bit. Um,
That's awesome.
and the machine makes it easy for me, obviously. You know, you're sitting there cranking in reels with the line. You put the line in a bucket and you're just hand cranking it in, you know, and making
Yep.
tension.
Yep.
Obviously, that's not going to be as
Well,
good as me on the machine, but
I can tell you it transformed my fishing experience dramatically. I would say it was like the feeling of like going from like playing golf with the wrong equipment to all of a sudden having like the right, shaft and the right head and the right glove and like things that used to seem hard all of a sudden just feel effortless. And that was my experience, but post you spooling my reels. So thank you again and Long Bay Point for having that resource available. Love everything that you and Bryce and Connie and Brady and the whole team are doing over there. Shout out to Kate, young blood
yes.
Kate in there,
Yeah,
taking
we
care of
got some
business.
great dock hands this year, dude. Our dock hands have been putting in some work. It's been hot this year. It's been busy this year. They've done a great job. They've racked up some tips. I appreciate everybody who comes through and tips my dock hands, man. You make it worth it for them to come to work every day. It's been a great year staff wise. I could not be happier with the fishing, the staff, the fishery, the people that we have as a group that I see every day, that I fish with every day, that invite me on their boats, that come in and I help them with tackle. If you ever need a reel cleaned, let me know, man. Like, I will help anybody that needs anything. I just want to see everybody that I like, everybody that I know is good people catch some fish. That's all that matters to me. And that's the whole reason I've stayed at the tackle shop since I was a kid. And I love working there, man. I love seeing people catch fish. I love hearing about it. I love talking about it. And that's why I love that you have me on here. And I really do appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. Likewise, it's special to get to talk to somebody who truly lives, eats and breathes fishing, and that is you, young Jesse Wilkins. So
I appreciate it.
shout out to all the people that influenced you, getting you going, and thanks for being on the show. Folks want to come over there and see you at Long Bay. Remind them what your schedule is so they can come get their rods, their tackle, their tips.
I am there every day, 1 to 9, except for Mondays and Tuesdays. So Mondays and Tuesdays, when everybody else is at work, I take that time to go out and fish, run around, take it easy. Then the weekends, when everybody's out on the water, I'll be here making sure y'all are all right.
Awesome. And if folks want to give you a call at the shop and pick your brain or see if you got something in stock, what's the best way they can contact you at the shop?
We got Instagram. We got, if you go on Google, we got everything on there. Instagram's been the biggest help recently, man. Like you can get anything on there, like
Nice.
actually anything on there. You can find charters. You can find what people are fishing with. You can find what people are catching. You know, it's awesome. I'm in the shop answering the phone all the time. I got the phone in my pocket. Our phone number is 757-481-7517. I remember last time I didn't remember the phone number. So this time I came prepared. I was not getting caught lacking.
I'm not gonna even
Um,
I'm not gonna even lie to you, Jesse. I went on Google just now and pulled up the phone number so that I have it ready in case you didn't know it. And sure enough, you were not caught slipping.
yeah,
Oh,
no, I remembered last time I was like, you know, what's one thing I need? I need the phone
phone
number. So
number.
I
Yep.
had it up. I had it up.
That's awesome. Well, Jesse, thanks for being on the show, man. It's always great catching up with you. And thank you again for spooling up my reels, man. Big
Yeah,
difference.
man. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you for that lobster roll the other day. That was a life-changing experience.
Dude, there's nothing like it. The bite of Maine.
The
Oh,
bite of Maine, man.
so good. So
That was
good.
life-changing.
If anybody's listening and has an association with Bite of Maine, can we set up like a regular delivery once a week, please? That would be ideal.
That would be amazing.
Heck yeah. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up a really fun conversation talking with Jesse Wilkins of Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle to hear about his recent adventures offshore, as well as spear fishing, and of course, his expertise with a reel, getting that thing lined out just for you, just right for you. So stick around for a quick word from our sponsors. We're going to catch up with some cool new dudes and talk about this upcoming Cast and Blast tournament on September 20th. We'll be right back with you. Whether you're spotting birds over the bay, watching a rod tip, or navigating back to the dock, clear vision matters on the water and everywhere else. Gilbert Eye Care has served Hampton Roads families since 1971, providing personalized eye care and quality eyewear for adults and children. The team at Gilbert Eye Care can also help you find polarized sunglasses that reduce glare and keep your eyes comfortable on the water. Visit them in Virginia Beach or Norfolk, or schedule an appointment at gilberteyecare.com. Gilbert Eye Care, proud sponsor of the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report. This podcast is brought to you by EMS and Indeck PVC Decking. Hooks rust, lines tangle, the one that got away always does. Some things aren't meant to last. This isn't one of them. For coastal homeowners, marina and dock properties, and waterfront builders, Indeck delivers a premium finished surface without the constant upkeep. Index capped cellular PVC dock and deck boards never rot, clean up easily with soap and water, and offer strong slip resistance in wet or dry conditions. Indeck, designed for what comes next. See the full line at pages.easternmetal.com/great days. All right, you guys, I mentioned in the previous segments that we were going to catch up with some really cool dudes that do some awesome spearfishing and also represent a really neat foundation that has an upcoming tournament. So I want to welcome to the show Eddie Delgado and Kent Reef. What's up, guys? How are we doing this afternoon?
Good, good. Thanks for having us.
Doing fabulous, man.
Awesome. Well, it's cool that you guys reached out, and I also love that you guys are doing a unique new tournament style, which we've never seen before, both in terms of like the time of year that you're doing it, the last day of cobia season, as well as the fact that you're bringing rod and reel and spear fishermen together, which is awesome. So we're going to get into tournament details in a little bit, but first, you guys spent a lot of time in the water. Kent, let's start with you, man. When did you get bit by the spearfishing bug? How old were you?
Oh wow, that was 15 years ago. I'm part of the OG, the older spearfishing group community around here with Stallings and Mark Lavachetta and Chris Ferdig and Alex Wozlak. That crew, they're the ones who got me in. In fact,
Nice.
Chris Ferdig, who's a big guy with Maersk, he bought me my first 50, and it took me 3 sessions to finally land my first fish, which was about a 20-pound black drum, and then it was game over from that point on. I was hooked.
That's awesome. What about you, Eddie?
Well, I got into it about 5 years ago,
Very cool.
and there was a Hawaiian officer I used to work with, Anto Naku, also a former team guy, and he kind of got me into it and introduced me to Justin Miller, who works for Veterans United Home Loans. He's a sponsor for this event as well, and once I linked up with those two guys, we just couldn't stop doing it. And then I came across Kent through the construction world, and between Justin and Kent, I mean, this is the next tier right there of spear fishermen in the area. I mean, they don't get any better than that. So I'm nowhere near as good as those guys, but I just enjoy getting out there. And I got a 6-year-old son I take every time, and my focus is getting him in the water and comfortable with a snorkel and a mask, and
Yep.
a couple beers. I dive down and get maybe 15, 20 feet tops. These guys are just next level, man. But I enjoy learning from them. They're good wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I feel like, talking to Jesse a few minutes ago and hearing him talk about his first experience with Parker, I feel like it's one of those things that I'm actually scared to do because I feel like if I do it one time, I'm going to just be absolutely ate up with it and like, what's a rod and reel? Forget about it. Like we talked to Mike Hosang on the show a lot with fishing for mortgages, and it's like there's like a next level of passion I feel like that goes into spearfishing that's different in a way from rod and reel because cobia fishing's already up. You're a predator, you know, as a human being, but I feel like being in the water with a gun, it's like takes that like apex predator to the next level.
It's certainly something, it takes you back to the basics of life and survival, right? You're harvesting what you're going to eat and you're bringing food home for the family, essentially. You're almost tapping into that very barbaric
Yeah,
beginning of human nature vibe. And for me, it's therapy. It's
yeah,
absolutely therapy.
yeah, absolutely. And uh, Eddie and Kent both tell me, are both of you prior military or just Eddie?
Just me. I don't think
Just
Kent
you.
did any time in the military. Yeah.
No, I
Okay,
am not military. I have family that were military in the Marines, but
got it. So in the military though, like in the Navy, like you guys are kind of forced to spend a lot of time in water. Like what was your from the military perspective, what was your experience in the water in the during the military?
Well, being a SEAL, very extensive, but you're so busy with like a work mindset, you never really take the time to enjoy, especially diving, guys. I'll careful what I say. Speak for myself. Diving's not the favorite thing to do for most guys. Definitely myself, but when you spend a lot of time in the water, but usually it involves getting from point A to point B, so you don't get to enjoy and take it all in.
Right.
Yeah,
That
and a lot of it's at nighttime, so you can't see, your hand in front of your face anyway. So there's not much to take in. You're just focused on what you got to do for the next 4 hours. Yeah, it's not as enjoyable as spearfishing, I'll tell you that.
yeah, and it's kind of a fun, I say fun, cool little known secret about this area. You know, a lot of the training that goes on. I've been out like late at night in the Lynnhaven and seen, you know, the team is out there, you know, training at night in the water. Guys are underwater swimming the lengths of the river, you know, against the current, whatever. I can't imagine it's a very fun feeling being, you know, underwater diving at nighttime where you literally can't see anything around you. Like, how do you navigate underwater at nighttime?
There's a couple ways. I'm recently out, so I don't want to get any hot water with saying anything. But there's especially nowadays with technology coming in, guys have. I mean, who knows what they got now? There's just so many different methods to navigate. But I'll say, map, compass
Yeah. Yeah.
is one of the older ways of doing it, and that was basically, the basics.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of concentration. You start daydreaming, like a guy like me, you start daydreaming about what you're going to do when you get out of the water. It's very easy to forget the time and bearing you're kicking at so very easy to get lost. But down there's no reference points or anything.
Yeah.
So that's why diving is just a lot of focus. I think I made myself a promise when I was done with the water. I was like, all right, I'm done, man.
And then you
Moving to the
picked up a
mountains.
spear
I
gun.
don't want to be. I don't want to be anywhere near the beach. I'm moving to the mountains. I don't want to be anywhere near water. And time passed, and it's like, wow, I kind of fell in love with it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious,
Yeah,
you know, Kent,
yeah.
you've been doing
That's
this for a
my.
long time too. How hard is it to get over? I don't think I've asked Mike this question before, but like how hard is it to get over that initial sort of like maybe shock or fear or anxiety of like jumping in the water and feeling that temperature, you know, rush and change and being able to like get to a point where you can be calm and regulate your heart rate and your oxygen levels. Like how hard is it to get over that initial hump for a novice who's never spearfished before?
That's a great question. I think the answer is really individual. I think first and foremost, how many times do they watch all the Jaws movie series? Because that's done so much harm to everybody's psyche mentally.
Yeah.
Secondly, the backgrounds. Like I grew up at the ocean, so I've been a water kid all my entire life, right? And thirdly, I think the time of the year which you're first being exposed. Like right now is perfect for exposure for newbies because you don't have to put on all the gear. You can literally go in your swim trunks. So you
Okay.
can go to the bare minimum of gear and be in the water, and you don't have the shock and awe of too much gear on you and the cold water. Now, once you get down about 15 feet, you're going to have a thermal climb, and you'll feel that for sure.
Yeah.
And lastly, I think I listened to Mike's last podcast with you. I absolutely agree with him that if you're going to take this seriously, you should take at least a beginner's spearfishing, free diving class, because
Yeah.
that's what will really give you a lot of confidence and teach you to control your heart rate, your mind, and breathing up techniques. That really
Yeah.
would be a game changer.
No, that makes perfect sense. And then
Yeah,
in
yeah.
turn,
On that,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. Listen to your last podcast. You guys were talking about safety. A
Mhm.
great conversation. Yeah, that was awesome. So I encourage people to listen to that again. You're right. Yeah, take some type of course. You don't have to. I just recommend it. You'd be that much further ahead. And yeah, it's spearfishing's fun. Anybody can do it. Yeah, a little bit of safety involved. Just kind of know what you're getting into. The shallow water blackouts and
Mm.
stuff like that. But yeah, that was a great podcast.
Yeah, it's one of those things I think, once you get outside of the boat, you introduce a ton of variables that can be life-threatening that are, uh, you know, far more greater than when you're inside of the boat. And so I think safety, the buddy system, communication, definitely a float plan are all helpful items to ensure that you're safe, the person you're with is safe, and everybody gets home to their loved ones at the end of the day. But I do want to know, like, take me through that experience of like your first time being in the water and your first time, shooting a fish with a spear gun. I'll start with you, Eddie. What was your first fish that you hit with a spear gun, and what was that experience like?
Uh, that's funny. So I've spent a lot of time in the water, very, you know, dangerous time in the water, especially at night, crazy conditions. And it never felt scary. It just felt like work, just a normal day. Just it didn't cross my mind. And I mean, now you look back, you reflect on, certain things you're doing. You're like, oh, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
You don't think about it, doesn't cross your mind. It's nothing. It's just like, walking into
locked
work
in.
and clocking in. Yeah. Uh, so then I got into spearfishing, and the first time I went to the tower, we're out in the middle of the ocean, and I'm diving down, and my thought process was like, "Wow, this is pretty sketch." I feel pretty irresponsible doing this for fun. I mean, I'm not on the clock. I'm doing this
R-
because I want to do this. But yeah, I was kind of a little freaked out, a little sketchy for sure. Especially when the water's a little murky. You dive down, you commit to a dive. You don't know what you're going to run into. It's kind of free. You get in your own head. That's
Yeah,
the 90% of it is you're in your own head.
right.
But if something happens to me, like, I'm out here because I want to be out here. Like, I shouldn't be out here. I should probably be doing something safer. That was my thought process. Kind of, it was a little freaky at first, but there's an adrenaline rush, and then once you get used to it, I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
And
such a great sport.
what was the first fish that you shot?
Paid. So
Spade.
definitely beginner level.
Yeah.
I felt like a rock star. You dive down and all the spade are right at the top. So you just nail a bunch. You're like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm so good at it.
So,
But we have a lot of spade in the area. So I encourage people who are thinking about doing it just to get into it. And that's a good starting point, spade.
yeah, I feel like a spade fish would be a good like my biggest concern for myself is like, aim point and accuracy. So I feel like a spade fish would be a very like safe place to start where like even if you miss, you kind of start to you get more shots because there's plenty of them and you kind of get a feel for like, okay, when I point the gun here and pull the trigger, you know, the spear goes this way, and then build up your confidence in your shot before going after like a cobia where, and we've talked about this on the show before, like if you hit a cobia in the wrong spot, you can end up in a
Yeah.
pretty serious tussle. Kent, for you, what
Yes.
was your first time in the water shooting a fish, and what was the first fish you shot?
Well, I remember the first 2 days I went diving. Hey, it's funny. I would see these spade swimming around, and I was diving with Chris Ferdig and a couple other guys who are pretty, I mean, they're Mike Hosang level. And so they were making fun of me because I kept saying, I see sheep's head everywhere. And they're like, that's spade. And they were just shaking their heads at me because I didn't know any better. I just saw something silver and black swim by,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a sheep's head because they're like, if you can get a sheep's head, you're the man.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny the first 2 days. And then the third day, I was on the north end of the second island, swimming along the rocks at the bottom, and came across between the rocks and the first set of pylons, I came across a black drum, and that was the first fish that I ever harvested, was a 20-pound black drum.
Those are cool, man. That's a unique fish around here. You don't see those a whole lot, so that's a pretty awesome, first fish, to grab a unicorn black drum. And then so it's been what we're into, I guess, late August now. We're starting to see more bait be present. We're starting to see some
Mhm.
fish kind of like around structure. I know Parker Reed and those guys have been doing really well. For you guys, your last couple of trips, when you've been able to get some shots on some cobias, where have they been lately for you guys?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Sure. I my luck with the cobia have been on the buoys. I have not seen them. So going back to kind of a previous comment that we're referencing, when you're diving or spearfishing for cobia, for me, it's a different type of diving than if you're trying to harvest sheep's head.
Okay.
I personally don't really harvest spade anymore because it's like shooting fish in a barrel for me. So
Yeah.
I just go after tog and sheep's head. But those stick around rocks or structures. So I'm diving vertically upside down along the pylons of the bridge.
Got it.
With cobia, I am literally swimming distances. So I'm only basically spending the top 5, 8 feet of water. And I'm just going from pylon. I'll swim a half mile, 2 miles. I'll just send it
Wow.
and wait and go around each pylon and then go to the next and then just keep going. Which is why Eddie lost me for a minute last night because I was like, I had a bigger gun with a reel on it
Yeah.
because my intent was to specifically go for a cobia.
So you were ready with the right caliber,
Yes,
so to speak. Yeah.
correct. You have to have the right gear because if you shoot a cobia, especially a bigger one in the wrong place, he will drag you and
Yeah.
potentially drag you down.
Yeah.
And that's not good if you got a short, small gun because you have no way to go up to the surface and fight them. And the other thing with clarity, because the clarity here is difficult, a shorter gun is better for poor visibility, right?
Okay.
Likewise, when there's current, a smaller gun is easier to maneuver when you're down 30 feet in the water
Oh,
and you have some warrant
right.
current moving back and around. So with my 75, not only is the shot distance too far, it's too big of a gun, you're almost choking up on the gun, but the water's pushing my gun around. Whereas with a 60 or a 50, I can manhandle the current against my gun and I can do what I want with it. And
Got it.
so it's a different style of harvesting,
Got it.
if that makes sense.
And I'm curious, Eddie, when you talk, or well, Kent too, when you talk about a 50, a 60, or 75, is that referring to like the total length of the gun or the size of the bands? Like, what do those numbers represent in terms of the actual gun itself?
It's the gun and the subsequent shaft that goes in the gun. And
Okay.
it's centimeters. Everything's done in centimeters
Got
because
it.
spearfishing is really a European sport. And
Right.
so it just moved its way over to North America. So everything is still done in metrics.
Got it. So centimeters,
And the
liters.
more visibility you have, the bigger gun. So if you're out in the
Okay.
blue 150 or even a 160 centimeter, what I call a cannon, it's basically a 4x4.
Got it.
If you've seen some of those guns, they look like basically a gun has been forged out of a 4x4x8
Holy smokes.
piece of wood, and it has anywhere from 6 to 8 bands on it. So you're
Wow.
loading it that hard
Dang.
to
So,
get enough kick.
so it's really about like the amount of clarity or visibility that you have means that you could potentially take a longer shot, which means you're going to
Exactly.
need a bigger gun. Okay, that makes sense. Got it.
And a bigger gun with more power, and so you need a bigger gun to handle the torque of the pull.
Got it.
Just like if you use a 12 gauge shotgun versus a 20 gauge, the 12 gauge has a lot more recoil,
Yeah.
right? So it
Yeah.
deflects the shot. Same with a bearded, a banded gun, is you had to have a little bit more girth to the gun so that the shot doesn't go high because of the kick when you release the
Got
trigger.
it. No, that makes perfect sense. And I kind of want to transition into this event that you guys dreamed up. So, Eddie, obviously, having served in the military, which, by the way, thank you for your service. Everybody that serves the special operations teams around here. I mean, there's so much hard work that goes into special operations that people will never know about that keeps our freedoms and our country safe. So thank you for that. But there's a really cool foundation called the Honor Foundation. I actually mentioned it to my coworker, and he had gone through the Honor Foundation process when he was getting out of his military career, and so he had great things to say about that foundation. But how did you get involved with the foundation? What does this foundation mean to you? And then talk us through the inspiration for this tournament.
Well, starting with the foundation, I retired a little over a year ago, and I went right towards the end of my career. I went through I want to say it was an 8 week or 12 week program. I can't remember now. It's a great program. It's to help guys transition out, guys and girls transition out to the civilian sector, resume building, searching for jobs, practicing job interviews, how to market yourself, how to really just be proud of what you did in the military, and just make sure you know how to move forward, but not kind of like a good cleansing, but also like, hey, everything you
Yeah.
did was a building block for what's next, but it's not everything that just they kind of put everything in perspective and really help you take that step forward, getting out of the military into the job world.
I'm sure it's a big identity change shift for a military to,
For some
your
folks,
identity
yeah,
with the military, and then you're now no longer that identity. And I'm sure that that's probably a big part
yes,
of it.
probably for some folks a lot harder than others. It's a big identity shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be a whole conversation of its own. But
Yeah, and in my
yeah,
limited experience, 11 years in the IT business and now, almost 2 years in federal and government construction, working with a lot of folks that were prior military, a lot of the feedback I get from them is that it's like it's very hard to go from a world where everything is primarily very structured, roles are very well defined. There's a handbook and a SOW for most things, and then
Yeah.
you get into the private sector, and everyone's like, who's on first? I think so. Figure it out. Is there a playbook for this? No, we just normally, sign on and go figure it out. And it's like all of a sudden you're transitioning from like a very missionally focused world where there's a clear sense of like values and vision, and I know who uses that weapon, I know who uses that weapon, and I know how we're going to do this. We're a team. And then you get into the civilian world and it's like kind of a cluster fudge, and you're like, guys, get your shiz together, so that's been what I've experienced. And so it's like I always, all the former military that I work with, I'm like, I do my best to give them as much, clear path as possible, because I know that like if I don't, they're going to look at me like I have, two heads. But yeah, it's cool that the Honor Foundation does that. And what does that actually translate to? So like if I'm somebody who just retired, where do they get their funding from? And then how do they actually help individuals at that point of transition?
well, it is a nonprofit, and they do fundraisers, and they're a very big nonprofit, so they have this figured out. They plan their events a year out.
Yeah.
They got they probably right now they're probably sitting there their meetings and talking about 2027, 2028. They're not talking about hanging out at chicks 3 weeks from now.
Low on the
So
priority list.
yeah. So I got into the construction world. I got my A license, so I'm building a house out in Cape Charles right now, and there's a young guy I hang out with. His name's Dustin Byler. I mean, just a complete stud of a fisherman. Like the dude's just that dude could fish 24/7. You pull him off the water, I mean, that dude's just in his happy place. He's in his element anytime that guy's on the water, spear fishing, rod and reel. He just loves being out on the water fishing. And he's working for me this summer with me. So we do the drive to Cape Charles every day, Monday through Friday, and we're sitting in the truck for about 40, 45 minutes, and we're just talking fishing. And then you're driving over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, and you look both sides, and there's boats everywhere, and we're like, "What are we doing? Man, we're working. Let's call it. Let's just turn around, go get the
Yeah.
boats, and go fish." So we're always talking. It's always talking fishing. What's
Yeah.
the weather doing? What is the sea state? And I mean, this guy, yeah, just next level fisherman. What much better than me. But we're always talking fishing. So we have about 45 minutes each way to talk about fishing every day we go to work. And beginning of the summer, we're like, hey, we should do a fishing tournament. Why not? Screw it. Like, let's do something fishing related in Virginia Beach. And then kind of just start talking about it. Let's do it. And it kind of just started picking up momentum. And I ran into Mike Hall. He works for the Honor Foundation, former SEAL as well. A great guy. Saw him at Sam's Club, and I, starting to tell him, hey, like I think I want to do a fishing tournament. You think the Honor Foundation would be about it? Get on board. I had just gone through the foundation with it the last year or so. So
Yeah.
hey, let's maybe raise a little bit of money, and I think it costs about $10,000 a person to put them through the 8 week course.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, let's see if we can raise a little bit of money and have fun doing it. And That's kind of how the tournament idea got started. I don't think if I would have ran into Mike Hall that Saturday at Sam's Club, I was buying a brisket, so I go home and smoke it. If I hadn't ran into Mike, I don't think we'd be doing this. We'd be doing something a little different. But yeah, they've been great.
That's
Chicks has been
awesome.
awesome. If you're from the Virginia Beach area, I don't have to say anything about Chicks. You
Yep.
already know what that is.
Yep. Mike Standing
So,
and his crew do a fine job over there. That's such a well-known establishment. And I know,
oh, such a great place to hang out and part of the community and
yep,
military community, the Virginia Beach community. I mean, if you haven't been at Chicks, I don't know. You're living in a cave.
probably living in a cave. And so the tournament itself, Kent, talk us through the rules, when it's going to be, the different divisions, the different species. Give us sort of the rundown on the event itself, so that anglers and spear fishermen who are listening that want to participate in this, give us the need to know items for this event.
Absolutely. So the website is castandblast757.com. And hopefully, if you would mind posting it so they could have a link to it. But
Absolutely.
the captain's party, for those who are not familiar with fishing tournaments, is basically a reason to get together, register, and talk schmack, for lack of a better word. It's being held at the Shack down
Okay.
at the oceanfront Thursday, the night before, or a couple nights beforehand, from 6 to 8. There, we're going to have registration. We're going to have some Calcuttas. Again, for those who are not familiar, Calcuttas are basically kind of side beddings. You choose which bucket you want to chip in and say, you know what, I think I could probably win this category, so I'm going to buy a ticket. And with the Calcuttas, which is great, is we kind of are trying to cater, because spearfishing there's a spectrum of skill level here.
Hmm.
And so, for example, one of the Calcuttas is just the three biggest spade fish, the collective weight of three. So,
Nice.
spadefish is a very common, easily harvested fish for spear fishermen. So, for the young and new to tournaments and spearfishing, it's a great Calcutta to enter
Yeah.
in. And then it goes all the way up to the two biggest sheep's head, and then a sheep's head and a cobia. So kind of
Hmm.
it's in line with your skill level, and you can choose to participate in whichever Calcutta you feel that you might be successful in.
Very
And
cool.
Calcutta is essentially you throw your money in the pot, and then whoever wins the pot gets the pot. Essentially.
Nice. Very cool. Is it going to be tiered like first, second, and third, or winner takes all? How are you going to do those
Yeah,
payouts?
no, for the Calcutta is just winner takes all.
Nice. Very cool.
And then the tournament itself, it has two divisions, and that's why hence cast and blast 757.com is the cast, of course, is the rod, the angler, and the blast would be our fisherman.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping that this will help bring unity between the two groups as well. Uh,
Just depends on if everybody's trying to fish those poles or not. Get out of my way.
That's why I'm asking for unity here, buddy. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, we're all out having fun, and we're
Yeah,
blessed to have this opportunity.
for sure. For
I
sure.
always say a bad day on a boat is better than a good day on land. So, I think it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And will there be Calcutta divisions for the rod and reel fishermen as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Very cool.
Absolutely. And that's where the captain's party is most of it is you buy tickets for the Calcuttas.
Got it. So it'll be a,
Yeah, we want you to come.
it'll be a Calcutta pool for each. So Calcutta pool for
Correct.
the spear fishermen. So it's truly separate. So spear fishermen aren't competing against anglers or vice versa.
No, that
Got it.
that would not be.
You
Yeah,
guys
that
would
we-
smoke us. You'd smoke us. You'd smoke
I
us.
wouldn't
I
say
don't know.
that, but it wouldn't be really fair to do that. That would create more anxiety and strife between the two groups.
For
The goal
sure.
here is to bring them together, not to separate them.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. The rod and reel guys have been killing it out there with Kobe.
That's just true.
I don't know.
True.
I have to disagree on that. I think rod and reel probably beat spearfishing guys right now.
But for the cobia, I think the rod and reel
They're
anglers
they're
would get it.
killing it out there. I've seen pictures of guys catching these cobia. It's insane.
It's getting really good right now. This sort of like end of season pre-migration is typically when it gets really good. But what can be really tricky to get a really big one is the fish do get potted up right now. And so typically your mid 40 inch, males and younger females, they're hyper aggressive eaters. And so when you're trying to, pluck that 60-pounder out of a pod,
Yeah.
you really have to have some skilled anglers on board to be able to work together, maybe throw an artificial and rip some of the pod this way and try to leave the big girl exposed, and then you have to really drop it right on her head. May or may not have been part of something like that before, but it's a dance. You have to really
Yeah, sounds
execute.
awesome.
I mean, it's probably like, when you're on the teams, like doing an executed, breach or whatever the case. It's like it's got to be precision. Otherwise, you're not getting the big girl.
Failure. Yeah.
Um,
You wind up with the baby and you see all the monsters underneath, kind of like that
oh,
picture I saw.
yeah, exactly. Like the other night, man, there's nothing worse than stumbling into some epic fishing and being all by yourself. It was, I think Monday night, and I went out there by myself after the storms cleared. And I'm like leaving the dock at 5:45, like getting these weird looks, like, does that dude have his fishing poles with him? What's he doing? And next thing I know, I'm in like every bait ball had a pot on it. I'm by myself, and I can't even hardly get one of these into the boat because they're bigger fish, and I'm not in shape, and I need to be able to like yank that fish into the net by myself. I
Yeah. Yeah.
really could have used an extra person. But back to the tournament. So Thursday, the 17th, is that right, of
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
September,
Yep.
at
Is
the
that
shack.
at the shack? Yes.
And what time?
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll go long past 8 o'clock.
Yeah, six
And we
six
got the
till
back area.
yeah, six till the schmiz talking stops. And then the actual event's going to be on the 20th. And what time?
Sunday,
What time is lines in?
7 o'clock, 7
7
a.m.
o'clock. Perfect. And for those that maybe, I'm sure everybody knows this, but that's the last day of cobia season. So
It
that's kind
is.
of one of the exciting things about it. Is like get out there, and sometimes they've already started to migrate, and it can be epic fishing, and sometimes it can be tricky because maybe they're around the oceanfront or Sandbridge. So it'll be cool to see where the migration pattern is at that time, and it could really make for some super exciting fishing, both by rod and reel and spear fishing. And what else is important for folks to know about this event in terms of registration, Calcuttas? Are there going to be any sort of like raffles or party? What's going to happen the night of the 20th?
Absolutely. So, as Eddie had mentioned, we've got Chicks on Shore Drive being the host party, the aftermath. So starts at 2. Weigh-ins start at 2 to
Okay.
5. And then shortly after 5 is when we'll start awarding those that have won their categories.
Awesome.
So, and while there, I've been fortunate because I've been doing this for about 15 years. I've known Mark Labachetta with Maverick America. He lived here for many years. He moved down to Wilmington about 7-8 years ago. He's coming up. He's sponsoring. He's going to be donating some big guns and some merch
Oh,
we're
nice.
going to use to raffle off.
Very cool.
I know Dano from Mako as
Yep.
well. He's on board, so he's doing the same
Oh,
thing.
very cool.
So I've been fortunate to try to get some spearfishing guys on board. We do want to try to get some because I don't know rod and reel. I mean, I know how to use a rod and reel, but I don't really have one. So we need to get some sponsors to put some really cool like rod and reel packages
Yeah.
together.
Yep.
Again, because the raffle at the end of the day is all the money's going to a great cause.
Yeah.
And the sponsorship, we definitely love the people that are helping us out, and we want more sponsors because all that money, in fact, you're writing the check straight to the Honor Foundation. It's not even going
Perfect.
to us. Our
Perfect. That's
goal
great
is
to know.
really is we don't care. We're not even trying to make money. We just want to
Right.
have a good time, have fun, bring people together, and for a good cause.
Yeah. It's a great cause.
And
And
I'll
go ahead, Eddie.
double tap. Yep. Sorry, cut you off. Double tap on that. Yeah. The registration, we kept it really low. I think we're at what, $200?
Mhm.
$200 a boat. So pack is, I mean, do what you got. I'm not going to say, but put
Yeah.
as many, do what you got to do. No one's going to keep track of how many fishermen you got on there.
Yeah.
But $200 a boat registration. We didn't want to make any money off the registration. We just want people to sign up and know this is for a good cause. And it's one of the last days of good fishing for the summer.
Yep.
What better way to do it and then go celebrate at Chicks after it?
Yeah. And
It's
I've
just
I've talked about this before, like Jenny with Shutter Speed, and Mike Roby with Hooked on Hope. When you get like the fishing community together, it's just such a golden time, man. Everybody's just swapping stories and getting to know each other and shaking hands like, oh yeah, I know you from Instagram, but I've never actually met you. And it's just like it's this cool bonding moment. And between the shack and Chicks, it's like there's two great places to hang out. It's like you'd
couldn't
want
be
to
a
be
better
there,
place to hang out.
you'd want to be there anyways.
Right.
But real quick,
Exactly.
so where are weigh-ins going to be held?
At the
At
Chicks.
Chicks at
Oh,
the beach club right out back.
That
perfect.
the sand part of the bar.
Beautiful,
They have
beautiful.
that whole
There's
area reserved.
Yeah, there's tons of dock space out there, so that's really easy for folks to be able to get in there and hang out. And then in terms of just so everybody knows, like, so $200 per boat to get in. You've got the Calcuttas, and then what places are you guys going to pay out from the tournament, and what places? You said Calcuttas take winner take all, but for the tournament itself, which places do you guys pay out?
First, second, and third.
Yeah, so
You
first, second,
can't.
and third
You got the sheet.
for
Yep.
the cobia.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Very cool. Well, man, it sounds like it's going to be an absolutely great time. I'm going to start praying now that we have epic weather, like
I know.
just absolutely stunning weather. That
That's where you
everybody,
might get us.
yeah,
It's for spear fishermen. Weather is huge for us. You
yeah,
guys can tolerate more weather changes than we can. Because, like, even yesterday, the viz at the first island, it was 2 feet. We
yeah,
went to the second island and got up to 4 feet. So that
yeah,
was huge. Because four
yeah.
feet around here is usually pretty good.
Yeah, but I will say if they're on structure and it's cloudy, you guys, the clouds don't really matter under the water. So if the water's clear and it's cloudy, you guys would have the advantage. But like you said, it's a good thing we're not competing against each other. So,
That's right. That's right.
and then I always want to, finish any sort of discussion about spearfishing just on safety. And like you guys said, like Mike said, it can be really exciting to have an opportunity to compete. And we've had issues in the past. I say issues. We've had boats capsize in the past during tournament days. Tournaments can cause you to be excited and sometimes overextend yourself, whether that's your boat's limitation or your individual physical limitation. So if you're going to compete, I would just ask, please make sure that you are highly confident in all of your safety gear, your safety plans, and never let the chance of, beating your chest in front of your buddies or winning a few bucks be a reason to do something that's not safe or foolish. So with that, is there anything that we haven't covered that you guys wanted to hit on for this event?
I think you did a great job. I really appreciate you helping promote this, Luke.
Yeah.
To reiterate, I think, and it was a great lesson or reminder with you and Mike's podcast last week, is that really, especially when you're stepping on somebody else's boat, it's a good idea to just say, hey, where's the basic emergency stuff?
Yeah.
If something goes south, just as you're heading out, because when you're still in the bay and you only have to cruise at 5-7 knots, let's have the conversation of where stuff is in case of an emergency.
Right.
You know where it is to grab it.
Yep.
Because sometimes time is of the essence, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you want to panic to set in. Any more panic than that will already happen, given the
Yeah,
circumstances. So
for
that's
sure.
always a smart thing.
Yeah, double check your
Yep.
VHF, know where your
Yes.
know where your throwable is. Make sure everybody else on board knows how to operate the vessel. If you have a tower,
Yes.
how do we switch controls between the tower and the downstairs? All that jazz. Where's the battery switches? Where's the bilge pumps? Just the basics that can potentially go wrong. And for spear fishermen especially, it's just like let's make sure that like we have all the necessary gear on board and that we're ready to rock. Uh, Eddie, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, safety wise, just for maybe the spearfishing guys, just make sure you know where your buddy's at. If you dive down, make sure you know where he's at all times. I'm a dive buddy, it's can't beat that. But the last thing I want to say is, $200 super low entry
Yep.
fee. Like if you're even thinking about it on the fence, I mean, it's just going to be such a fun time. I mean, once we go to the weigh-ins from 2 to 5, pull in at Chicks, there'll be plenty of boat space. I don't know if all boats at once, but as they come and go, we'll have music, DJ, food, drinks out back. I mean, just what better way to close out fishing season for the
Oh yeah.
summer. So
Yeah. It's like
a
a
good cause.
It's like a delayed Labor Day party weekend,
Yes.
So go ahead and put in your PTO for Monday the 21st right now because we're probably all Orange Crushes, they have a way of just going down too easy. So go ahead and plan to Uber home after the party. I think we're going to
They
have
are
that
thirsty.
that kind of a time. But Eddie and Kent, thanks so much for putting this together and for reaching out and coming on the show and just sharing a little bit about your stories, how you got into spearfishing, your passion, and obviously putting this event together. I think everyone in the community is going to appreciate and enjoy it, and we look forward to a really awesome time.
Yeah, I think next year it's going to be epic because we will have actually planned it. We're
Yeah.
doing pretty darn good for only a 3-month throw together. We're almost near our goal, so definitely thank you for helping us reach the goal for the
For sure.
foundation and so
Yeah,
forth.
we plan to turn this into a yearly thing, and just,
Good.
as long as chicks will have us, we'll be there. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you got a really catchy name, Cast and Blast. That's easy to remember. You've got an awesome organization that I mean, if you've lived in the 757 and haven't bumped into or become friends with somebody in the military, you just need to get out more. Because it's like everywhere you go. I mean, we are a military town, and again, it's like until you're close to somebody that's in the military and learned about the life that they live in the sense of like the sacrifice, the time away from family, that's big. You really start to gain a true perspective and understanding of just how much sacrifice and effort goes into being in the Navy and being in the Special Forces. And so when there's a community organization like the Honor Foundation that exists to ensure that those team members and families have a way to transition into civilian life and still earn a great living and live a great life, which you deserve everything that and more for your time and sacrifice. To be able to play a small part, as a fishing community and put your $200 in the pot and help that is you should do it. No questions
Yeah,
asked. So, um,
100%.
with
And I
that,
just want to pitch remember the website, castandblast757.com.
perfect.
By all means. And lastly, one group that doesn't get enough attention is the families.
Yeah.
It's not just about the service member, but the families take a sacrifice too, because
Yeah.
your spouse is gone.
Yeah.
So I just want to call attention to those people too, because they're making a sacrifice as well, and their children.
For sure. Yeah, everyone is committed to the vision and the mission, whether that's the service member, the family, or the children, or extended family. So, with that, we're going to wrap up this really awesome segment. Great to meet you guys. I'm excited for this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. If nothing else, just go put your $200. Even if you don't own a boat, just put $200 in and go to the parties. Like
Yeah.
that's a great party for $200.
Yeah, go to
I will
the
say,
captains at the shack, and
yeah.
then Thursday and Sunday come to the party.
The
At,
raffles. I mean, there's
yeah,
there's going to be all
yes,
kinds of good stuff. And I want to make a call out. If anybody listening to this is a custom rod builder, has any sort of like gear or swag that they'd love to donate, as a way to raise money, please reach
Mhm.
out, to Kent and Eddie and make sure that you get that gear to them ahead of the event so they can, have it there for the raffles. Well, cool, guys.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you again. Really awesome.
thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Absolutely.
See you
Folks,
out there in the water.
hell yeah. That's going to wrap it up.
Absolutely.
We're going to hopefully get out there and catch some fish here this weekend and this coming week. And like we always talk about, be safe out there and have fun and tight lines, everybody. That's going to wrap up this week's show. We'll look forward to talking to you next week. If you spend time on the water, you're going to want to download this app. The new Ceto app is the quickest and most innovative way for all boaters to get help on the water. Automatic GPS sharing, coastal marine forecast by zone, real-time wind conditions, radar, and interactive tide charts with maps makes this app essential for daily boating. It's built for ease of use and reliability. It's all things boating, all in one finely designed app. Download it for free today. When you're on the water, your boat deck should work as hard as you do. Deck It Hampton Roads offers custom non-skid marine flooring solutions built for comfort, traction, and a clean finished look. Whether you fish hard, cruise with the family, or spend long days barefoot on deck, Deck It helps make your boat safer, cooler, and more comfortable underfoot. Their process includes digital scanning, CAD design, CNC precision cutting, and professional installation for a custom fit instead of a one-size-fits-all solution. Ready to upgrade your boat? Call Deck It Hampton Roads at 434-378-8004 for an estimate and to see how good your deck can look and feel when you deck it out. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.